So when a relationship breaks down, of course, there is a period of grief and loss. Loss is loss. The relationship was lost. It broke down. And there is no denying that that is painful, and the grief needs to be felt and experienced in order for us to move forward. But there is an opportunity here to see where the breakdown was partly in connection to how disconnected you were from yourself, and also the other party being disconnected from their self too. So when we're in an anxious and avoidant dynamic, it puts people into automatic roles. So somebody who is not stepping up to have the difficult conversations and to experience what is wrong in the relationship, maybe they brush it under the carpet or whatever, it kind of forces the other person, maybe the anxious party, into the role of fixing, explaining, maybe overgiving. And maybe these people already see themselves as givers, people pleasers, and this tends to be the way. But when we are overgiving, over explaining, and we're trying so much to prioritize fixing the relationship, we can't help but lose connection to who we are, what we need, and what we truly want to experience in the relationship. And that sounds strange because the whole motive behind fixing, explaining, trying to get the other person to get it seems to be that we want to experience something better than what we're currently experiencing. And we know that we maybe need something more. But when somebody is consistently showing us that they can't do that or they don't have the capacity, the explaining, the over explaining, the long texts, the long late night conversations, the arguments, the times where we tolerate things that we really know that we should not or that we don't want to experience, all of that comes down to a lack of connection to the self. And once you get out of these situations and you've spent some time being distant from it, maybe there's a period of no contact and the dust settles and you start to regulate, you look back at it and you think, I can't believe that I pushed down what was so important to me for so long. It's almost like there comes a time where you don't recognize the self that you were in the relationship that was so disconnected from you. And you remember how important your needs and your feelings always were, and that there was never, ever anything wrong with you for asking for what you were asking for. Okay, it always makes sense. Everything that we feel is relevant. And sometimes when we're in a situation where somebody does not know how to make our feelings relevant, we start to question ourselves because there's nowhere else to go. We start to think, well, maybe it is me. Maybe if I do just explain it better, maybe this person just needs a bit more time. And every time we push down our values and our needs, we are losing connection to the only connection that truly matters for a relationship to thrive, which is ourselves. And that way, a relationship cannot be resolved like that. So the best thing that can happen sometimes is a breakdown to create a breakthrough, mostly with yourself. And sometimes that breakthrough can lead to a better connection with that person if the other person does the work on themselves too and also experiences the loss. But what's really profound and really important is when you go through this, you really do learn the very important lesson about who you are. And also you can reflect and see where you were actually not being yourself, where you were tolerating things that you didn't want to, where you were saying yes when you meant no. You can probably already recall a few of those moments already just thinking about this. But in the time that you are apart, you're able to look back and think, how do I really know that I was actually being myself? Because if I was overgiving and I was doing a lot to keep the relationship intact and I was neglecting things that were really important to me, was I even being myself? And if I'm not doing those things, then who am I? And this creates a huge amount of confusion because often a lot of us have been in a survival self for our whole lives, right? And this can be a really illuminating time whenever you actually experience a loss like this, because it gives you those questions for you to explore. And it's very empowering when you get to the other side of this. And that is obviously not easy. And I'm not saying any of this to be like, hey, you didn't lose them. They weren't that important. Of course they were important to you. This relationship has been a massive impact on your life and on yourself and taught you something that was incredibly valuable. Also, when we see the potential in somebody and we see glimmers of who we think they could be, and they show us sometimes that they can be connected and they can take responsibility, it gives us that feeling of hope and wanting and desire for it to actually be like that all the time. And so when the relationship ends, we experience a crash of all of the hope and the investment that we put into this person, and that feels like loss and grief. And there's no rushing that. You can't bypass that part. But it's really important to be able to see that another part of the loss and the pain and the discomfort that you experienced in the relationship and now out of it was because of a lack of connection to you. When we are connected to ourselves, things tend to flow a lot more easily. When boundaries are being respected, we tend to feel a lot less disconnected from ourselves. We tend to feel a lot more able to love. When people respect our boundaries, we feel like it's safe to love. When people don't, or they gaslight us, or they dismiss what's really important to us, we don't feel able to love fully, and therefore we close off and we stay silent about things that really matter. And that, like I say, creates a disconnection to who we truly are. And in the process of letting go and remembering who we are again, we start to feel more able to love. And this brings a whole new potential of love and relationships to occur. Whether it's with this person or another person, that's yet to unfold. And I know we want to know the answers of, will it be them, won't it be them? But we don't know yet. And the only thing that matters right now is learning to reconnect back to you. And this is something that I work with all of my clients. Actually, over the years, it's the common denominator in everything that I've ever done. And it's what I've experienced to be the most true in my own life. I have been severely disconnected from myself in my life before and in relationships, and experienced the absolute destruction of relationships because of that. And when the opposite has been true, relationships have been so much better. I can't tell you how true it is that when we are connected to ourselves, we dictate the state of all other relationships in our life. And so that's where we can take our power back. And no, it does not mean that you can control somebody else, but it means that you can respect yourself more than needing to hold on to relationships that cannot meet you where you are, without making yourself think that you're less, that you're not good enough, that you don't deserve love and connection in relationships. So I hope you found this video insightful and useful, and it's given you something to think about. If you'd like support with this, or you'd like a community of people who are going through something very similar, I've got the Living Room, which is a community group coaching where I talk to people every week on a Wednesday at 1 o'clock UK time. And we have a really lovely time doing reflective exercises, sharing what's been happening, anything that we want resolving or reflecting back. This is where we can do it. It's a beautiful space to process all this kind of stuff. So if you want any more information about that, or you'd like to join, you can find out in the link below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.